House Speaker Paul Ryan taking heat from Democrats for saying no to expanding paid family leave. That's because before he was elected House Speaker, he said he wouldn't sacrifice family time. Since making that comment, some Democrats have tried to portray Ryan as a hypocrite for not supporting family leave legislation. So where do you fall on this one, Peter?
I'm for the Family Act.
Okay.
I believe it should be passed.
Is he being fairly called a hypocrite?
Well, I think he's a good guy. I don't think he's a hypocrite. I think he just disagrees with it because he says it's not unfunded. It's an unfunded mandate. But I believe that we should be encouraging families and not abortions in this country. And if the price is to pay $1.50 a week by an employee and an employer together to ensure that a woman has the capacity to be paid 2/3 of her salary for 12 weeks, then I think that's a good thing in the United States. And I think a lot of people and a lot of companies get that through disability policies, through other policies. I think that should be a national American policy, that we value women, that we value families, that we value new babies in this country. And I think it's an inherently conservative Republican approach, especially if employees pay for it themselves.
Well, and that's interesting, but that's not what Paul Ryan is proposing.
No.
And Democrats are saying, hey, you know, Kennedy, you wanted your family time. You only agreed to take on this role of Speaker. If you could spend the time that you want with your family, is there a way that he could work this out, that the Republican Party could back him?
You know what I think? I think that there are plenty of wonderful things that Paul Ryan does with his family, and I think he can do them without a government mandate. I think we have forgotten in this country what the function, what the role of government is, because we are paying for so much. We are so overextended that if this is a cultural value, if this is a thing that we deem most necessary, then we have to stop funding redundant federal programs left and right. You have both parties who just refuse to take any responsibility, and therefore programs like this that may be very noble fall out of the scope of what government is capable of doing at this point, because it has hamstrung itself with spending and debt.
I would ask one question, though. When you talk about Paul Ryan taking time for his family, does that mean a 4-day work week? And as a taxpayer, are we paying him a full paycheck for him to take 3 days off? I mean, I'm just asking the questions kind of as a devil's advocate in all of this. Perhaps not hypocrisy, but certainly a collision of perspectives. I don't know. Just a question.
What's your take on this, Andrea?
Well, I think politically it's very dicey because it sounds great. Everything that progressives push for sounds great in theory, but there's always the question of who is going to pay for it. So while I do think it's important that families are together, I think a lot of the cultural erosion that we've seen comes from the breakdown of the family. I have friends who are small business owners, and it's tough to put these mandates on them when they're having trouble with all the other onerous rules and regulations that they're facing from the government. So again, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions. But Sandra, we covered this topic earlier. We're bankrupt as a nation. Maybe take the shrimp off the treadmill. Stop funding those stupid studies we're funding. Stop funding all these other programs and prioritize if this is something that's important to the American people.
Well, this debate likely to continue.